Hey y'all, how we doing? Shout out once again to Bear Nation for tuning in to another episode of the Bear Necessities podcast. I am your host, Rob Napoli. The Bear Necessities is a podcast where we sit down with entrepreneurs, ecosystem partners, and innovation folks to talk about what it takes and means to launch, create, and scale business across the world. We talk about the journey and the challenges of being entrepreneur-minded and how that translates into your journey, giving you the tools and knowledge to overcome challenges that you may be facing in your life's journey. The Bear Necessities is part of the Rise Up Media family, and we thank you for tuning in. Now, let's get into the show. How we doing, Bear Nation? We are back again for another episode of the Bear Necessities podcast, and today should be a lot of fun. We just got done kind of doing our pre-show talk and chat, and had a lot of fun with my guest for the day. For today, I'm going to butcher your last name. So Rita, how do you pronounce your last name?
Maçorano.
Maçorano, I love it. Rita Maçorano is a biomedical engineer with expertise in business development and a really strong passion for the human brain. After specializing in neurosciences, Rita co-founded a company called Nevaro, where she's now the CEO. Alongside her fierce team, they're working on changing the status quo of how mental health is perceived and dealt with. Rita, say hello to Bear Nation for me.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Rob. Thank you so much for the invitation.
You bet. I'm excited and have been excited because we met October of last year in 2021 at the She Loves Tech event. I was a judge on that jury. You presented and pitched and made it to the final round and took second, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I think it was third.
Third. Placed that. I remember you placed in the top three.
Yeah.
And I know we've kind of stayed in touch a little bit since then. And I remember then, and that's why I'm excited to have you on. I love the topic, mental health. So the first question I have for you is, why the fuck does a biomedical engineer with a specialization in neurosciences decide to co-found her own company? Like, what? You could have gone off and went into the workforce and made a ton of money. Like, what made you want to focus on this and start this company?
That's a great question. And actually, it goes even further than that. I wasn't really sure I wanted to be a biomedical engineer. And throughout my master's degree, I started having some classes on neurosciences, on the human brain. And I started saying, okay, that's what I like. That's what I want to explore a little further. And even more than that, we started exploring what kind of technology was applied in psychiatry, in psychology. And what a surprise, you look at that and there is none. There is no technology. There is no innovation in those fields. So we started thinking, what can I do to improve this? So the first step that we tried to do was to understand how you're feeling through your body's response, through your physiological response, be it your brain activity, your heart rate, your breathing rate. What can we retrieve from your physiological activity that tells me how you're feeling? That would allow us to understand really the problem, and not only based on self-reporting. So it's way more accurate than that. So that was the first step, trying to understand this. By being a biomedical engineer, I have both sides of engineering, tech, but also medicine and this part. So that was what showed me really the value of the masters I was taking. And I had a lot of support, especially from the teacher that was teaching that class of neurosciences. He's a little crazy. He's like a fire starter, always igniting you. And he did that to me. So by doing a simple project in university, he stimulated me to turn that into what Nevaro is today. So we started exploring. I started going to some contests, speaking about the idea. It started gaining some proportions. Then in parallel, I developed my master thesis on the project as well. So I developed the algorithms. I started doing an MVP. Testing it, and it was really feeding the beast inside. So I started seeing what it could be, and then eventually we created Nevaro, and here we are today.
I love it. That's so much to unpack there, right? One of the things I love about the show, and my listeners know, is that I love to bring on kind of non-linear career path type people. Like, you know, there's great. Like we have people that go to school, they want to be an entrepreneur, and like we love hearing those stories. But we also love to hear those stories of like how somebody who goes to school for something completely different, finds their way into being an entrepreneur and not even knowing it because of something like this, because you took a class, because you had doubts. And I think, you know, one of the things that I love my university experience, and, you know, there's a lot that I learned there, but I didn't go get a master's till 5 years after because I needed to take time to like go learn about what I liked and didn't like. And we sometimes try to declare what we want to do at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and we still haven't experienced a lot. So sometimes we go to school for something and we learn that's not what we want, and that's okay too, right? I love that. And we all need that fire starting professor who's like, hey, let's push that. So I love this. So did the idea behind Nevaro, did you start and co-found the company while you're still at university in your master's? Did that happen right after? Like, when did that like idea of like, okay, we want to do this and like, let's try to make a company. How did that formulate?
So the master's was 2 years. I started in the first one, doing this, starting developing the technology. But we started seeing the potential by then. So I enrolled in a contest, actually from the innovation department of that faculty in Lisbon. And we won first place. So for the most innovative idea, it was a small prize, but it really showed us that there's the possibility to turn this into something. So by then I was starting to develop it more, to do some clinical testing on the solution we were creating. And at the same time, we started taking like classes in an acceleration program. Actually, that was a crazy year. So I was in Lisbon studying. I was doing the clinical testing in Beja, which is mostly south of Portugal. And then I was doing this acceleration program in Braga, which is in the north. So every week I would go north, center, south, north, center, south. It was crazy. It really took like the will to keep it going. But that's, as I was saying, it was feeding the beast inside. So I had no idea I wanted to create a company. I've always been in the science field. I was taking engineering classes, but then I started experiencing it. And I started liking it. So I was let's take it. Let's roll up our sleeves and see where this can go. Of course, my family was like, "Are you crazy? Shouldn't you focus?"
That was my next question. How did those closest to you, your family, those around you, your schoolmates, like what did they say to you, and how did they react as you are transitioning and doing all these crazy things? Like, what was that experience like for you, and what was your kind of response back to them?
So on the one hand, there's the family. Of course, they always support me, but they actually make it quite hard as well, because shouldn't you be doing something more stable? Shouldn't you be focusing more on your thesis, on school? My mother is really like always saying these kind of things. Of course, she supports anyway the decisions I take, but she's always like worried about the continuity, about stability, about everything. On the side of the friendships, of friends that were seeing what was happening, I co-founded a company with a professor and a colleague, Francisca. We are now inseparable. We didn't know each other before, but now, and by then, in the beginning, we were 4 students of biomedical engineering, and we were the 4 of us starting to see the potential of the idea. But only me and Francisca were actually believing it could turn into a business. So what happened here was like everyone saying, "Are you crazy? Do you think a kid like you will be able to create a company out of it?" So they left the team, and it left us only me and Francisca doing the work that we had to do. It was extremely hard because not only we had to do everything, but also manage going to everywhere at the same time and do the academic work, the other part, everything. But I don't know. I think it's resilience is we really wanted to see where we could go with this. And I don't regret a single thing we did.
So I appreciate you sharing that story with us because, I know very well how influential family could be. I remember when I had I understand stability, and especially from our parents' generation, right? I'm a millennial. You're probably at that Gen Z, late millennial, early Gen Z. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're right on that borderline of like, you're kind of both. Stability is really important. And when I decided to go back and get my master's, the impetus was I met my now wife in small town Iowa. She was like 3 months in, hey, I'm moving to Europe to get my master's. We either break up or you come with me. Like my audience knows that. And I chased her to Italy, and I had a 6-figure salary. I had just bought a house. I had that stability, and it wasn't enough. And what I realized, and what I love that you have the same mindset, is that you have a great background and you have skills that money can be made. Like, you can go get stability. You can always go find stability.
Exactly.
What you can't always do is find these great ideas, these fire, this something inside you, that beast inside that you said, that makes you want to go take this. The fact that even when people were jumping ship saying, I don't think you could do it, you're like, fuck it, I'm going to go show them how. That's
exactly.
That's really exciting. And so, as you're going through this and you have all these things kind of happening, you're going through masters, you're doing a thesis, you have people leaving, you have pressure from your family, you're traveling, you and Francisca were kind of building this out. What were the major things that you owned and she owned? Like, how did you split that up so that you could mentally handle that load? And what was that like on your own mental health as you're developing a company on mental health through all these challenges and stress?
Yeah. In the beginning, we actually kind of struggled a little bit because we both wanted to do everything. That's something that usually happens with founders, at least when they are not experienced. We were both ambitious. We both wanted to start something. We were co-CEOs. We were co-everything. We did everything together, and we split tasks in half. We didn't split tasks. So it was quite complicated in the meantime when we started growing and having more things to do and more different kinds of tasks. Because, for example, I'm more communicative and I'm more like go and networking and do this part. Francisca is really good at writing and she's amazing. I can't believe how fast she can focus and start typing. We really have different skills. We complement each other really well. But in the beginning, we didn't know how to do that. So how to separate it in a healthy way. People always ask, oh, don't you fight about who's going to have this or that? But no, it just happened naturally. We, of course, we had a lot of mentoring. We had a lot of something that we are proud of. And usually people also criticize a little bit is that every time we have an opportunity, we take it and we go and we learn from it. So we did a lot of acceleration programs. We did a lot of mentoring and a lot of that. So we really grew. So we had an academic background in engineering, but we lacked completely the parts of the business, of the entrepreneurial world. So we wanted to learn that. We did, and we learned. And of course, that was a step we needed to take to separate the tasks to grow into the positions we are now. So, yeah.
I love that. One of the things that I've talked about before and I like to share is my company, Hapday Group, which recently got acquired. My business partner and we met in 2017 and we're friends. And when we decided to start a business together and really kind of go in, we sat down and had a deep conversation about what we both expected, what we thought we could own, who did what, and how to split those duties up, because we were the same way. We were both very ambitious. And I think it's really important that you all learn through this. And I love that you two went through this process, is that you need to complement each other and know that you need to hire people that can fill in the gaps, and you need to really be clear on, hey, you own this, I own that. At the end of the day, you have the final say and I'm going to back you. And you let those skills and things happen, because then you can kind of go split and attack the market and really reduce that mental load.
Exactly.
And allow you to focus on the areas of expertise. So I love that you shared that. how did, coming from a place of mental health, did you ever feel overwhelmed or a part where you wanted to give up? And how did you kind of focus on overcoming and adapting through the ending of schooling into the launch of the company and now where we are today?
Yeah, I think we had like two big moments of almost giving up. The first was when those colleagues, really in the beginning, when we were 4 and then all of a sudden we were 2. And we didn't know anything. We needed to learn everything from zero. And we really thought we were not capable of doing it on our own ourselves. But then again, the fire starter teacher was there and we did it. We kept on going. We were like, I started this journey with 21 years old. Francisca was 22. So we were really young. We were children here starting to, not children, but you get what I mean. So of course we are 2 girls going to a man's world of business. We have always been seen as like the first acceleration program we did. Everyone was so much older than us. It was like 80% men. We weren't taken seriously in the beginning, so that also made us doubt ourselves. Of course, we were struggling with that, but we were really taking it as a learning moment. So we were there to learn. It doesn't matter what they think of us. They accepted us for some reason. So we were there and we learned. We started building our network. We started going to the events, knowing some people. We also joined really early an European network of innovation in healthcare. So we had not only events in Portugal, but also outside, throughout Europe. It started opening a lot of doors for us. And when people started knowing us and noticing what we were actually doing, we stopped being just those 2 girls that think they do stuff to the women that actually get things done. So that was really an accomplishment moment, like that we could set those grounds. But another moment where we struggled as well was when we had everything. We started having some clinical validation, the first proofs. We were developing our master thesis. We were taking a little too long to write it because we needed to be stable to be writing and typing everything. But we were moving forward to have some clinical trials in a clinical setting with a lot of patients when COVID hit. And all of a sudden, we couldn't go to the hospital. We couldn't be with the clinicians. We couldn't be with the patients. We couldn't prove the value of our solutions like that. So we gave a step back. We were like, what should we do now? We can't do anything like this. How will we move forward? And it was some tough weeks, the beginning, 2-3 weeks, then we rolled up our sleeves and we started doing something completely new. So the solution I presented in the She Loves Tech competition that you saw, Ollie, so the smart brain that works as a personal trainer for our mental health journey, he was born during the pandemic. So we started seeing the challenges that companies and the teams were having on managing people, on suddenly working from home, everyone without the interaction of the day-to-day. And also notice, we already knew that because we were already working in the field, but the thing that people don't know what to do. They, like you can do a lot of things before your mental health issues turn into something that's a problem. So we started developing this tool so we could capacitate people on what to do. Like you have it in your pocket, you are struggling, you look at it and you start doing your journey, a day-to-day journey where you can improve yourself. We started doing that because we started seeing some things on ourselves. So I have a personal story that maybe I presented that on the pitch. You already know it, of course.
Yeah.
So I started shaking a lot. Like I'm a really active person. I walk a lot. I go outside, but I was just sitting at home every day, working on my computer and everything. And of course, an entrepreneurial life is a really stressful life, as you know as well.
Yes.
And I started shaking. I remember perfectly a day when I was trying to type on my computer and my hands were like this. Like I started panicking because I didn't know what to do. So how did I get this far? And I went to the doctor and he just said, here, take those pills. It will be gone every day. Like you take one before your day starts and you will be perfect. And of course, I accepted that because he's a doctor. He's wearing his doctor clothes, and I just get out of the office, and I started thinking, like, how does this happen? Like, I work in this field, and I just accepted it without questioning it. So that really opened the door again for this pivoting of our solution. We are still using our technology, our algorithms of physiological recognition of anxiety biomarkers to shape the course of the journey of the person in the coping strategies. But now to this more preventive approach, to this capacitating approach for people to know what to do when they need it on their day-to-day lives.
I love that you shared that, and I think that's really important for us to kind of hear is that this was born out of, not only because you had these clinical trials and then all of a sudden that kind of went, going down, and then you guys are kind of struggling through all of these things, thinking about, because there's two sides of this, right? There's the clinical side, which I think is important, right? Like we need to have the data and the clinical piece to back it up. And we know that these things are a huge issue, but there's the practical application. A lot of times it's hard to go from clinical to practical. And where do we have tools that allow us to leverage that time away in a way that makes sense versus, just pulling up Instagram and mindlessly scrolling? How do we leverage a tool that is going to practically work for us? And that's what I thought was really cool. And almost to a point where the pandemic was crazy and caused a lot of things, but also allowed you to take a step back and think practically through own experience, how can we make this tool really work in a way that you could do easily? And that, I think, is something that sometimes the biggest challenges that hit us are where the best innovation comes from.
Exactly.
Because it kind of pressurizes you to figure out and take a step back and think, how do we practically do this? Yeah. And so I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's really awesome. And I think this is a good, quick moment to kind of take a second to really explain what Nevaro is. Like, what is Nevaro Tech and what you're building? So maybe give us a little overview of the actual company and platform.
So I started sharing a little bit already, but our main goal at Nevaro is turning mental health tangible. So something that usually is really up in the air or also lame, we are showing that there is science backing it up. If you do this, your body will be like that, and that will improve you because of that. So there's something that we really value is being really straightforward, deconstructing everything, like showing the science behind what will a breathing exercise do to your oxygen rate, carbon dioxide, how will that impact your body, and how many times you should do it because of, So we really focus on delivering the message, on deconstructing the concept, and also being really positive and engaging. So we really have a lot of bright colors. We really work on that side of it, because it doesn't have to be always that dark thing, just problems. So we all have a brain, we all need to take care of it. So that's really our mission here. And also based on not only on how are you feeling, what do you want to do, but also on how is your breathing, how is your heart rate, how are you feeling physiologically? So what do you need to do to improve it? So it's really this quantification and positive approach on mental health that we are focusing on. As I said before, we have a really scientific background. We are a spin-off of the University of Lisbon. We started in a more specific and clinical setting. But with the pandemics, we pivoted for this more preventive approach to delivering this tool to everyone, everywhere. We are starting slowly through companies. We are currently working with managing mental health of employees of large companies. But our goal in the long run is to first start also to being a complement to mental health therapists, so psychologists and psychiatrists, and even longer run being available to everyone everywhere that wants to do this mental health management. Yeah.
That's awesome. And, that's really exciting. And why I bring that up is we were talking pre-show that you're in this proof of concept phase. You've got a lot of, tests going on and kind of first client proof of concepts happening. You're in fundraising mode, really kind of at that next inflection point of going full scale to market with the solution. And how does that, I guess, what has that process been like for you? What challenges have you faced, or what are you most excited for as you're actually seeing all this work that you've put in for these last couple of years kind of turn the page into, holy shit, we're live, we're going, we're out there, we're looking for investment to scale faster. Like, what's that been like, and how has that made you feel, like seeing this all finally happen?
Yeah. So every day we doubt ourselves. Every day we struggle. Are we doing this right? Is this going to be successful or not? The first really proud moment we had was last September, when we weren't launching, but we had our first giant client. So it was a company with 35,000 employees. So it was a really, like, we were forced to have it ready. So we were approached by the people of management of that company. And they were like, so we would like a solution that will do this. And we said, oh, ours does this and that and that and that. And they say, do you have it ready to start by that date? And we said, of course, we have it. we didn't have, and we needed to have it. So we were like running against the clock. One of our CTO actually got married in the meantime, and he had his honeymoon, and we were like, oh my God, how are you going to pull this up? But we did it. we had to, we did it. And we've been doing that pilot so far, and it has been an amazing experience, with a lot of struggles, of course, a lot of fires to put out. But it's really what they say. It's not a cliche. If you are not ashamed of your first product, you aren't doing something wrong. So you should just launch it and do it, and then iterate and improve it as you go. Yeah.
All right. I know it's not a cliche, and I say this all the time, and I can't tell you how many, working with founders from all over the world all the time, I can't tell you how many times people are waiting for like the perfect product. Yeah. And if you wait till perfect, it's too late.
Exactly.
Get good out, get feedback, iterate, and move quickly. It's the only way that you can really take a product to market and leverage it for the market. Because if you're waiting for a perfect product market fit,
someone
it's not going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that you're on that same page, and it's exciting. Again, a pressurized moment. Hey, yeah, we can do this. We'll have it done by that date. Shit, how do we do this? Let's fucking go. Exactly. Right? And that, it's that ambition, it's that drive. That's what gets you going, and that's what takes you to new heights. And that's what's really exciting about where Nevaro is going, and why I wanted to get you on the show to talk about your journey in these high pressure situations. And you've just been running so fast, so hard for so long. What does 2022 look like for you? And what does Rita, the entrepreneur, do for her own mental health to take a step back?
So this year, 2022, I hope will be the year where we really enter the market. So we launch something that we created from scratch, and we are putting it out there. That's like a dream come true. Let's see if that happens. I hope so. So far, we've been bootstrapping. We've been winning some grants. We've been winning some contests. So that's how we've been managing so far. But this will also be the year where we are closing our first funding round. So that we are also trying to fight that battle. So it's a year of a lot of things happening. A lot to go wrong, but a lot could go right as well. So it's as you were saying, it's this uncertainty and this risk that also keeps us going. Of course, it's hard, but when you get it, the dopamine, the discharge of dopamine that you get when you manage to accomplish it, it's incredible. And yeah, it's tough, but it's really good after all. About my mental health, as I was saying, I struggled a little bit with the pandemics because I'm a really social person. I like to go out and be with people, and we, of course, couldn't do that. So I started struggling a little bit, as I was mentioning as well, the story before. But something that as the restrictions are laying down and we are coming back slowly to our lives, our new normal lives, we started traveling again. We started having face-to-face appointments again. I really like to travel as well. And that's something that really, really, I'm missing the word, sorry.
Invigorates, excites, motivates.
Exactly, motivates me. So that's been amazing as well. And also, I would like to do more exercise, but I think it's really something that helps you channeling your frustrations, letting it all out. Yeah. But for me, it's that, and also going out with friends. So
I love it.
I try to do a little bit of both.
Do you have any trips coming up for this year booked in 2022?
Yeah, so actually that's something that I'm struggling with because we had none for a long time, and suddenly everything is happening and you should come here and you should come there. So I just found out that I'm going to Barcelona in the end of this month, and then like a week and a half after I'm going to Turkey. So yeah, already a busy schedule.
I love it. Yeah, I'm excited too because my wife and I are finally traveling again. We've traveled in the United States to go back home for stuff, but obviously not traveling. Like we're actually headed to Milan. Finally going back to Milan. I was in Milan in 2020, in February 2020, that week of Fashion Week when everything kickstarted in Italy, and I had to get back here, and then everything locked down here. So I didn't get to really experience Milan. That was my first time back after 5 years.
5 years.
So I didn't get to experience it, having lived there for 2 years. So we're excited to go back, and go see friends and experience Milan again and be back in the city. We're going to Ireland for a wedding in July. We're going to Greece for a wedding in September. So
Amazing.
I'm excited. Going to Mexico in 2023 in January for another wedding. So I'm excited too to go back and travel and meet people where they are and get back to developing experiences and relationships in the moment. I love we've all loved and have figured out how to do it virtually, and that's how we met, right?
Exactly.
Online through an event, all this stuff, but it's time to go back out on the road and see people and experience those things again. And I'm excited about that.
Actually, let me just add something. In January this year, I was I was supposed to go have the New Year's Eve at a friend's place in Belgium, but then I had COVID, so I was stuck at home. So then I managed to change the flights, and I decided this remote life allowed me to just go there. I spent there 2 weeks. I was working remotely, but I was there with her. I was traveling on the weekends. So it was really, it changed the paradigm, how we do things. The new normal is different than the old normal, but we can manage to make it something that we can leverage.
Yeah, I love that. And, we've proven that we can work truly globally and remotely and still make amazing things happen. And that's awesome to be able to put yourself out there. Wow, Rita, it's been amazing to kind of chat through your story, and you've shared so much with us. And as we close out here, kind of finish up with a couple final questions. And one is, from one, entrepreneur to another, as you have grown through this entrepreneurial journey and it not being what you thought you were going to do growing up, and now you're doing it, what advice would you give to, a Gen Z or a millennial or anyone who's thinking about being an entrepreneur? What would you tell them? And what advice would you give them if they ask, how do I become an entrepreneur? What would that look like? What would you say to them?
So the tagline would be, if you hesitate to do it. As I was describing, life is full of ups and downs. We are always struggling. One day we are good, the other day we are bad. Actually, me and Francisca gave a TED Talk on last year, I think it was April. A TEDx, but where we described things with engineering. So it works like a sinusoid, full of ups and downs. So the function where if you are up, you are going down, and if you are down, if it depends on you to roll up your sleeves to go up again. So that's really what the entrepreneurial journey is. And there's a discharge of dopamine at every corner. So you just have to look for it. Yep.
I love that. Life works as a sinusoid, right? The up and down. I love that. That's so cool. And I agree with you. The hardest thing is rolling up your sleeves and saying, you know what? Things aren't going well right now, but we got to put in the work. You can't just sit around and wait for things to come back. You got to put in the work to bring it back up, and that you're in charge. Well, I think what's interesting, when you're up, you're going to go down, but when you're down, it's on you to take it back up.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. I love that. You know, one of my favorite questions to ask every entrepreneur is, what is your superpower?
So my superpower is having really unexpected ideas. So getting out of the box and also some cringy jokes.
I love it. I bet being around you out at a bar or just in any social setting is super fun. Just having, jokes come out and it kind of makes sense, right? Unexpected ideas and kind of funny, cringy jokes, because like your brain is just, it kind of works a little bit different and it's fluid and flowing and you're in a flow state. And I can only imagine what it's like spending time with you in different social settings. Oh, I love it. Rita, I've had a lot of fun getting to have you a part of Bear Nation and have you on the show today. I'm really excited we finally got to make it work. I know when we met in October, we had the holidays and New Year stuff and all this stuff with the business happening and COVID and I had COVID, earlier. I've had COVID 3 times somehow.
I had twice.
Which, it's been tough. So I'm glad we finally made it happen. How can my audience find you? Where can they connect with you? What should they be doing to learn more about you or what you and Francisca are building with Nevaro Tech?
Yeah, so you can reach me on LinkedIn, Rita Maçorano. But Nevaro, you can look for at nevaro.tech in every social media. We have the same handle everywhere. Please reach out and stay tuned to our journey, to our sinusoidal journey. I'm sure we will have some ups and downs, but yeah. Well, I will make sure to link all that in the show notes so they can just go click and easily find you, connect, reach out if you have questions or want to get involved in the journey. I can tell you there's a lot of great things about to happen and follow along. I'm excited to see what happens as you come around the corner of finishing a proof of concept into taking a product to market and finally seeing that experience happen. I'm going to be rooting for you all the way when that finally happens. And once we get you launched and you're out on the market, we'll have you back on to talk about that experience of finally seeing it live. Good luck with the rest of the fundraising stuff. I know that can be a bit of a challenge. So keep up with that and really excited to see where you go next and know that Bear Nation supports you and we'll always be here to help out any way we can. So I really appreciate you being a part of today's episode. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bear Nation, thank you again for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you go. Give us 5 stars. Leave us a review. It's super helpful. And until next episode, stay well and rise up. Bear Nation, once again, thank you for tuning in and listening to the Bear Necessities podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. Leave us a review. It really does help and means a lot to us, the show. And I want to thank our friends over at Fin. Fin is a social good platform that creates employee engagement and builds culture. It's our mission to support and give back to the communities that we serve around the world. And we do this by giving every guest on our show a $10 donation to the cause of their choosing using the Fin platform. Until next time, thank y'all, stay well, and rise up.